Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to the Island of Rob. That's right, I've teased it for about a year and I've put it off for even longer. It's time for some Island of Rob gardening. This week we're going to start on a really simple and starter technique, and that is how to use a propagator. Now for those of you who don't know what a propagator is, obviously I come from Norfolk, so I was born with that knowledge. This is a propagator. It consists of three main parts. You have the actual chambers, where your plants will grow, an actual base, which is where you put the water in to actually water your plants, and a lid. Now what a propagator does is, a propagator, if you think about it like a plant nursery, you put your seeds in here to make sure they germinate and they have the best chance of germinating. Because for a seed to germinate you need a certain temperature, because seeds are actually designed not to actually germinate until they reach a good temperature. That's why they don't germinate in the middle of winter. But also they need to be maintained at that temperature for a certain period of time, and they need to have moisture over that time as well. So what this does is it locks in the moisture. When the sun hits it, where you put it on a window or whether under a grow lamp, it actually condenses and you get a kind of nice amount of water vapour in there, and that actually keeps everything moist and warm. Now there's loads of different things you can grow in your propagator, whether it be starting off your salads and things like that, if you really want to take care of them and grow individual lettuce plants. Tomatoes are a key one of getting them going in here. Peppers, I've also started in my propagator. Spinach, radishes, onions are one of the essentials you like to grow in a propagator, I found. There are obviously some things that you don't need to worry about propagating, like peas and things like that, but we'll go into that another day. Now for this particular example, obviously one of the first things you'll need in your propagator is good potting soil. Right, now I've got a trick for finding good potting soil, and it involves one of the most irritating things in your garden. So now we'll just pop outside and I'll show you what I mean. Now, little does our lawn-based pain in the arse know that he's actually dug me up some perfect potting soil. It's already free, nice and crumbly, and from a lower point you're just getting that surface soil, so it's probably got more nutrients in and better for those seeds. And it saves me kicking it around the lawn. Don't pack it down, just fill the tub. So, you've got your potting soil. Now, you can get fertilisers and things like that and mix it into your soil and things like that to make it better. In this particular instance, I'm not particularly panicked about cropping and things like that. I'm just gonna let it grow and hopefully it'll shoot. If you wanted to actually make things a little bit better, you could mix this with 50-50 with fertiliser in your potting soil and just make it a really rich, nutrient filled mix. Now today the main things I will be putting in my propagator are some flowers for the garden. Now if you're unsure about when to plant your seeds, generally if you look on the back of the packet you'll have this little chart here and it'll tell you what month that you should be sowing them. Now on the back here you can see that it says July. Now obviously it's quite late at the moment. Most of my things I've already propagated, but these are okay for July, so I'm going to pop these in there, and I'm going to pop a couple of other bits and pieces in as well, so we'll see. But first off, putting some foxgloves in. Now foxgloves, I just like, they're a hardy perennial. Most of my flowers generally are hardy perennials because I like to be able to forget about them, because I don't like to be spending a lot of my time in the garden changing in and changing out flowers, because my garden is more of a functional vegetable garden. But the good thing about foxgloves, and one of the main reasons I want them in my garden, is because they're fantastic for bees. And if they're fantastic for bees, they should be in your garden. Also, some of the other things I'm going to be popping in today are some cabbages, some peppers, and it is quite late for peppers. Cabbages, not too bad because you can do a winter crop of cabbages, and a few other flowers as well. It's so simple to use your propagator. Literally all you need to do is pop open your seeds. He says, trying to open the packet with his big stumpy fingers. Now the trick is with these is the seeds are often absolutely microscopic. So what you might like to do is get a pair of tweezers. Now I have some in my seed tin. Now at later videos we'll go into my seed tin. I am incredibly over prepared and anal about my seed planning, and we'll go into that, but it really helps in the long run, and you have handy little tools like these. So I'm going to grab up some of these and I'm just going to chuck some into the middle of each propagated section. Again, if you're unsure about depths, you can actually find how far you're meant to plant the seeds, how deep, either online or quite often it'll say on the actual packet. Now I'm just going to get a few more of these. Pop them in there. Now you don't want to bury them too deeply, and likewise you actually want to have the soil fairly loose, because obviously when the seed germinates it wants to be able to send down roots decently into the bottom of the pot, and likewise it wants to have room to grow, so you don't want to have a load of compacted soil stopping the roots from going through there. Now you've got your seeds in your pot, and you've got all your seeds back in your seed organisation tray, because you have one of those. What you want to do is you want to water the propagator. Now I've actually already put the water in the propagator, and if you can see as I lift this out, you can see the water just sits in there, and you want to give it a reasonable amount of water, because the potting soil that you put into will be more than likely quite dry, and that's a good thing to start off with. You want to have it easy for the actual seeds to be sown, and then when it absorbs, when the seeds get moist and warm, they'll then germinate in that soft soil and spread out, which is great. You want to water them every 3 to 5 days, or whenever the soil becomes dry. You can tell when they need watering by the look of the soil colour. Obviously you can see here at the moment, because the water hasn't reached it yet, you can see that the soil is quite a light colour. When it's a little bit of a darker colour, you can see that it's moist, and you can also just dab a little pinky in there. One thing you must never do is water from the top with a watering can or something like that, because the seeds you have placed neatly in the centres of your propagator will be washed all over the place, and you will never know what you have got. And on that side of things, it very neatly and professionally brings me into the fact you must always remember to make a seed map. Now this year my wife has helped me plant many seeds, and unfortunately due to confusing seed maps we've ended up with a lot of mystery plants that we've had to plant out in the garden. Now obviously it's not the end of the world, but it can be a bit of a nightmare if you have a plan that you're trying to work to. So try and make a note. The thing I always try and do is I leave like a little mark in the corner and leave a little piece of paper in the corner of my propagator, so I can orientate my map and find out what I've got in there. It doesn't have to be particularly detailed. Now, before I pop the lid on and pop this on a windowsill, you don't have to plant it on a windowsill. Sometimes windowsills, if they're not south-facing or they haven't got enough light, they can actually make your seedlings what is referred to go leggy, where they go really long and thin and they just kind of droop over the sides. If you do find that, that probably means that you haven't got enough light in the location where you're putting them. Or you could use a grow lamp. Personally, I don't like to use grow lamps because it feels like it's going against the point. The reason I do gardening is because I like to grow things to increase how natural things are in the garden, and to go and plug in a lamp and use extra electricity to grow things in my garden, it seems a little bit against the point for me. Before you put them on the windowsill, one top tip I've got for you. one thing that you always must have in your seed pot is ground cinnamon. Now it sounds like a bit of a weird one, but what you should do is when you've planted your seeds, you sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon over the top, like I'm doing here, and you don't have to worry about exact amounts here, like just spread it effectively so you can see it on the surface of the soil. Now what this does is, obviously in a moist, warm environment, it is the perfect environment to grow moss and various other fungi. What cinnamon is a natural defungal agent, and I personally prefer to use cinnamon because it's natural. If I'm going to use a chemical in there, again, it's defying the whole point of being natural in the garden. It's a natural option in your garden to stop fungus and moss from spreading. And on top of that, it makes all of your propagators smell really nice. Unless you don't like the smell of cinnamon, then tough cheese. It always makes me, when I'm propagating, it smells like Christmas. Don't know why, but it does. So, that's it. Pop the lid on your propagator, pop it in a sunny place, and in between 6 and 12 days, you should start to see shoots. If you don't, be patient. Sometimes they take a painful amount of time, and you want to wait until the plants have, at the very least, outgrown the lid of the propagator. You can take the lid of the propagator off if it gets too damp, and let it dry out a little bit, because you don't want to have swampy conditions, as I was talking about, because what that can do is, rather than making the seed germinate, it can rot it in the soil. Other than that, I hope this has been a useful video to you guys. I hope it has been a good first step into our gardening adventure, and if there's anything else that you guys would like me to show you and explain to you about gardening, I'll be more than happy. Some of the next things coming up, just so you know, I will be doing a how to keep chickens in your garden, because we've got some chickens and they're doing pretty well. We'll be doing a how to harvest garlic. Obviously it's quite a simple one, but you never know what kind of knowledge set people have, and I prefer to cover all bases so everyone is up to the same page. If there's anything else you guys want to ask about, feel free, pop it in the comments below. Are you guys growing anything? Tell me below. And also, if you found this video useful, please smash down on the subscribe button and make sure you've got your settings set to notify me when a video comes up. Otherwise you could have missed some of this fine content. Now take care of yourselves, guys. Grow whatever you can, help nature, and be your own island.